Welcome to the Amen Hour,
where we talk about God and many other activities related to God. I'm Precious.
and I'm Rebecca Weeks,
And we'll be your hosts.
Okay, to start off, our guest of the week is my favorite teacher, Miss McKenzie.
How are you feeling about being on the podcast today?
I'm excited. Anxious to, see what you guys have been doing with this year, and just looking forward to what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
Exciting. So the verse of the week is Jeremiah 29:11. You said you wanted to talk about that. Would you want to read it?
Sure. Jeremiah 29:11 says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future."
And what do you take from that?
Well, this time of year, with a lot of graduates and everything, they're thinking about their future and what they're going to do. And so hopefully, we use this verse a lot of times to give us some comfort. I think it's important to make sure that we understand the background of this verse. With it being an Old Testament verse, a lot of times we don't know the full context around it. But sometimes it's interesting when you learn the history behind the verse and what all the stuff that was happening around that time when that is being quoted. During this time, the Israelites had been taken captive and they were taken to Babylon, and so there were a lot of false prophets at the time that were telling them that, in 2 years you'll be released and that type of thing. But Jeremiah writes to the Israelites to tell them, no, you've got to beware of the false prophets. God's going to have you here for 70 years. So let's make the best of this situation. He knows what he's doing when he has this plan set out for the Israelites. And so while we a lot of times look at it as this warm, fuzzy feeling of God's got me and that type of thing, while that is true, he's also trying to make sure that he tells us, like, hey, this may be a season of your life. And so while you're here, let's make the best of it. Bloom where you're planted, that type of thing. And so even if you're in a tough situation, whether it's you didn't get into the college you wanted or you didn't get the job that you wanted or whatever it is, let's take what you have and make the best of it for this season of your life. Because a lot of the people at the time when they were reading this letter, they would die before they were ever going to be released. And so it's like, hey, this is where you're at. Let's really make sure that you're still living a good life, a full life for God. And so a lot of the times, we don't think about those hard places in our life and how we have to try and make the best of it. We just want to be there and complain and just sulk in our sorrows and that type of thing. But sometimes we have to think about, like, this is all part of his plan for us, for me. And while I'm here, how can I grow within that situation?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking.
I said a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you?
No, yeah. I definitely agree with that, yeah.
I mean, it can be at any point in your life. I mean,
Yeah.
you could be a high school student, a teacher, or a retired grandparent. I mean, it's every phase of your life is going to have those situations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, I guess like when you were talking about that, I was thinking about like what happened like during like last year, like with like my family. Like we just had like a lot of stuff that like went down, and it was like really hard to like think about like anything good happening, and I was just like focusing on like how much of my life that I lost. If that makes sense, I don't know. It's just like a lot of things. Like my grandparent passed away, and then like a week later, my Uncle Chuck's wife passed away, and it was just like a really hard time. And it was like I wasn't focusing on anything like good that could come out of it, and I was just like,
Yeah.
It's hard to do that when you're in those seasons of your life. It is really hard to do that. And I think it's important that when you are there, you know the people that you can go to, and you always can go back to the Word and make sure that, there are those verses where, Israelites, that sucks, man, 70 years, that is a long time. And so while this may feel like you're never going to get out of it, there's always that plan for you. And a lot of times we think our plans are better than what God has planned for us too. So it's always important to remember to trust Him and go back to what His will is and what He has for us, what His purpose for us is.
Yeah, no, like what Becca was saying, for me, like the first semester of school, I would definitely say like I was struggling with like worried about how many friends I had and like the people who I was just surrounding myself with, and just like felt really in like a dark, lonely place. And then like more and more I realized like I would rather be alone with Christ than with like a lot of toxic people. You know what I mean? And that I wasn't alone, that I still had like family members and I did have friends, you know what I mean? Even if it wasn't like a lot of friends, it was still friends. Like be grateful for what I have.
Next, prayer request. I would just want to pray for my mom. She's flying back here at the beginning of May, so here pretty soon. So I just want like her flight to be safe and everything.
My prayer request is for me or my friend's prom to go good. We're supposed to be going to her prom this weekend, so just for it to be safe.
I think right now my biggest prayer request would be just getting these last few weeks of school, and considering our seniors are going to be gone next week, and just these last few weeks of school a lot of times are tough. Students trying to get things in, teachers trying to get the last things taught. We're all at a high stress level and honestly mentally ready to be done. And so just making sure that we are enjoying the time that we have before we move on to adulthood or senior year or year 21 of teaching, whatever it might be. But just making sure that we do try to slow down and enjoy the moments that we have, and in some cases just survive the end of the year.
Would you like to pray?
I'll let you do it.
Okay. Dear Lord, thank you for this day. I want to pray for Precious and her friends, for her friend's prom. Just make sure people don't do dumb decisions and just really keep you in mind. I want to pray for my mom. Hope that her flight goes well. Just hope like she comes here safe. I know like she's flown many of times, but like just have your hand over her and help her. Dear Lord, please have a hand over the seniors and everyone who's graduating this year. Just help them like make it through life, and let them know that it's not going to be easy, but like just be there and help them through going to adulthood. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we have a few different like other topics that we wanted to talk about. If you want to share your testimony, you can. If that's something you would like to do, do you want to?
When I get asked this question a lot, I always feel like I don't have much of one, because I was brought up in a home where God was the center of it. I can't remember a time where I didn't attend church, and it was my parents, my grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, and my first grade teacher went to church with me. So I don't necessarily feel like I have a great testimony, but at the same time, I'm older and I have lived through several things in my life. Growing up in a bigger city, that your faith is different than others. It can be tough, and so it's real easy to stray. And it's funny how God always brings you back to your foundation. And even as an adult, struggling with that when things come up, and it goes back to Jeremiah 29:11. But I I graduated high school and I went to a Christian university in Arkansas. I went to Harding University and got my bachelor's and master's degree there, and was grateful to find a job in Northwest Arkansas. And this area has been wonderful because there's so many opportunities to get involved with different churches and nonprofits that, show an example of Christ and what he wants us to be. So just I've put myself in places in my life where I've been able to have a lot of people who support my faith and help me grow and that type of thing. My first daughter, when she was born, she was in the NICU for 3 weeks. We knew she would be. Thankfully, the doctors were able to be able to catch what she had. It was called gastroschisis. So a lot of her digestive system was outside of her body when she was born. It never got fully closed in. And so having a lot of people, family all over, literally all over the world, praying for us and supporting us, I mean, you feel God's presence and the peace that he puts on you and just the people that are taking care of your baby. But, that 3 weeks actually was the shortest amount of time any child with gastroschisis was in the hospital. The shortest time before that was 28 days. So she broke that record by 7 days, and just grateful for God, having his hand over everyone and everything in that whole process. I met my husband when I was older, and that was something that I'm glad that, God guided me through, was not to settle, because there were times where it would have been easy to do that. And I'm grateful that, God put my husband in my life when he did. And it was, it's been almost 14 years that we've been married now, and so it's been wonderful. And then just getting to, work in Gravette, where you see a lot of kids and staff members and their faith present in their lives. And so it's, I say it's not significant, but, there's a lot of people that have grown up like me. And while there are struggles, the mountain peaks that he puts in our path has also been great.
Awesome.
So the next topic that we wanted to talk about is piercings and tattoos and how different people feel about it. So what is your perspective?
I will say I had a belly button piercing. I no longer have it since having children. I do not have any tattoos, but I would say as you are moving forward in your life, think about what your goals are, and if those things can keep you from reaching your goals, you have to think about it. So there are some places and some occupations where if there are any visible tattoos, you have to have them covered. And so that's just something to think about for your future. Same with piercings. Piercings are quite a bit easier to take care of as far as your future goals. If you have a nose piercing or something like that and they don't allow that, you can take that out and that not be an issue. Where tattoo removal is an ordeal, an expensive ordeal. People that I know that have gotten tattoos removed and that type of thing because they regret getting it, or the reason why they got it no longer is significant in their life, or for a job or whatever. Mm-hmm. They say it's pretty painful, worse than getting the tattoo itself. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important to think about what you want to do in the future. My personal opinion, I don't really have one as far as if you should or shouldn't. I think that's more between you and your adults and what your future goals are, and you have to consider those things.
Yeah. Well, I have a belly button piercing and a tattoo, but my tattoo is a Christian tattoo. It's
you want to show it off?
Yeah, show it off. It's God's name in Hebrew and eternal love. But for me, I know in the Bible it says don't mark your body and stuff, but me personally, I know it says that was buried with the blood, after Jesus Christ died, that was buried. And like I know it, like it also depends on like what you put meaning behind your tattoo. Like
your,
if you're
your intentions.
your
Because,
intentions are behind the tattoo.
I know it talks about it in the Bible. I'm just not sure where, but I think it was talking about don't like put markings on your body to curse others, because I think that was a thing. I don't know what. I can't really remember what it is, but they were putting markings on themselves to like curse other people or like do something. I think I don't know. I could just be lying. I'm so sorry.
No,
but,
I think it does say something like that.
And
I
then,
remember the verse. I mean, I remember knowing about it. I don't know the verse and the context around
well,
it.
there's
So
one right here that says, "Do not cut your bodies for the dead, or put tattoo marks on yourselves. I am the Lord." And that's in Leviticus 19, 28.
so that was probably more for Old Testament law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I can't really remember like exactly where it was or like what it was for, but I just know like people were putting markings or like doing something to themselves and other to like for other people to like
They were
preying
doing,
on their downfall.
yeah, and I think they were also doing it to worship other gods as well.
And so like I think the meaning of it is like if it's all about like your intentions behind it. Like if same with like crystals and like stuff like that. If you're using these things because you believe it's going to give you something or has like this power, I guess, then like that's what you shouldn't be using it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But like if like if it's for a different meaning, like your tattoo, like it's to show your appreciation, to show your love with the Lord and like your connection with Him, then I think it's different. But if it's for like something else, then like
Can I
That's
play
what we
devil's advocate here?
Mhm.
Or to argue the other side, just for funsies. You know, in the New Testament, Paul was praying, and he was in a home, a private praying, and that type of thing. And people were like, "Why aren't you outside doing this and letting people see you?" And that type of thing. You know, playing devil's advocate here. You know, does the tattoo like, is it for show of other people that, hey, I have faith, or is it, you know, your reminder? Like he was saying, I don't need to do that. I don't have to show it
Yeah,
off. You know what
no,
I'm saying?
it's
Like,
not to
like,
show
just
it
playing
off.
devil's
Yeah.
advocate here. You know,
I feel
thinking
like it's
about
more
that type
of
thing.
like if like you like it yourself. I don't think it's like to show off or like to brag about it, because like if you're doing that, if you're boasting, because it says that like you shouldn't like be, I don't know the right terms, but like you shouldn't be like bragging about it. I forgot the person, but like they would like be like, oh, I'm such a good person, and like praying out loud like that and like in front of everybody, and that's not what He wants you to do.
Yeah.
And like you
It's
should.
not about people's
Yeah.
perception of your faith. It's about your relationship with God and
And,
that type of thing.
um,
That's what I was saying. Like some people, like while the intention might be for themselves, but at the same time, it is also that outward acknowledgement.
I feel like as long as you're not like shoving it in people's faces and you're like, oh, look at this, I'm so good. Like I don't know.
No, I was
But,
just
like,
playing devil's advocate
Oh.
there.
But I feel like it's just the way you go about like showing it off. If like someone else like from the religion like points it out and was like, oh, I really like this, and then I feel like it's okay to talk about it. But it's like as long as you're not like boasting about it and like I don't know. I had
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah, no, I also got the tattoos. The original reason was because it was like supposed to be me and my mom's matching tattoo, so it was like for us, you know what I mean, and our appreciation, like because our journeys with Christ. That's what it's basically for. So yeah, definitely not to like, oh, look at me, obviously, but yeah.
But
I'll
it's
be
like,
honest, I don't have a tattoo because I don't like needles.
So like with that, like we shouldn't be boastful, but also we shouldn't be ashamed.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because like we shouldn't like be like
Mm-hmm.
like out and like shoving it in people's faces, like, oh, I'm a good Christian, I do all of these things, what about you? You're not good enough.
Yeah.
But also, we shouldn't hide it.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah.
Our deeds
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and actions
So
should
it's like,
speak louder than.
You shouldn't be like afraid to like show off your religion, but like also at the same time, don't do it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Another topic we were thinking of is like
Clothing.
appropriate clothing.
Like what to versus what not to wear.
Yeah. What is your opinion?
You know, I tend to go towards the side of modesty. And that's how I was brought up. And I remember arguing with my parents about it all the time and everything. And you know, as cliche as this sounds now that I'm older, I understand. But, you know, I think it's pretty clear that in the Bible that it does say that, you know, there needs to be a sense of modesty among Christians, because you're not supposed to do things if it's going to cause somebody else to falter and that type of thing. I mean, if, you know, as an adult, if you get in a situation where you have a friend that's an alcoholic and you want to go hang out with them, don't go to a bar. Or, you know, if you have a friend that struggles with something, don't put them in the path of that to allow them to struggle. And clothing choices, there's a lot of things that it can affect. And you know, that struggle for a lot of people, you know, yes, we want to be in style and look cute or, you know, be comfortable, but at the same time, you know, it is a reflection of how you view yourself as a person, as a child of God. And so, you know, I tend towards more modest clothing, whether it's length or shirt or, you know, I mean, there's so many things that go into it. So, and I do the same for my own children, you know. There's, unfortunately, really bad people out in the world.
Yeah.
And, you know, as kids, you two included, as teenagers, like, they don't necessarily care about age. And that can sometimes reflect on a person, whether it's the truth about that person or not.
Yeah.
Your thoughts and opinions?
No, yeah, I totally agree. And I feel like if you are gonna wear something like super inappropriate, like do that in your own home. You know what I mean?
Where it's not out.
Yeah,
showing
like
and-
yeah, it's like public versus private. You know what I mean?
I
What
feel
you
like
should and
I
should
do
not
that.
wear.
Like I have like out in public, I'll wear like the basketball shorts that we wear for youth camp. But like at home, like I'll wear like other shorts.
pajama shorts.
Yeah.
That's what I've always called them.
Or actually, I'm
I'm a
mostly
pretty
just
tall
in pajama
person.
pants.
Yeah, that's
So-
my issue too. Like I don't wear like basketball shorts, but I would probably say like I do wear shorts, like not super duper duper short shorts, but you know what I mean. I do wear shorts, but that's just like a comfortable thing and a height thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's, especially as a tall person, it's a lot of times, unfortunately, harder to find those because the trend is, for some reason, the shorter the better.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't. What is my thoughts? I can't remember. I don't know. It's just like sometimes it's hard to find like comfortable. I don't know. For me personally, it's like kind of hard to like find like something that's like actually comfortable that I'm comfortable wearing, like out in front of people. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily
it's like
think
some,
it's,
like,
you're
shield.
ashamed of the way you look, like your physique or anything like that, but I think it goes back to the idea of, you know, if you know that there's, number one, that those terrible people out there, and number two, if it's something that someone struggles with. And a lot of times we don't necessarily know what people are struggling with either. So,
Yeah.
Do you have anything? No.
I think that's all I've said what I've said.
Going back to like piercings and stuff. So like I feel like there is like, I don't know, for me personally, like I know a lot of people, not a lot of people, but I know some people who are like don't really like facial piercings. Where was I going with that? I don't know. I feel like if you're not like overly doing it, then I think it's like what's the words? I don't know. So like I see people like with like piercings all over their face, and like I feel like that's like a little much. Like, what's your guys' thoughts?
I think, I mean, it
I don't
honestly
know.
goes back to what their goals are. You know, if there are certain settings in professional areas it's not acceptable. And unfortunately, we are human and we make quick judgments. Everybody does. And, you know, if you can get past that, that's great, you know, because there are a lot of people that did things that they can no longer, you know, facial tattoos and that type of thing. You can't go back on that. And hopefully you get to know the person and you don't let the appearance of a person keep you from knowing who they truly are and that deception and that type of thing. But I also think that's where you have to really think about your future and what you're going to. And I'll be honest, as an 18-year-old, I mean, I knew since I was in like third grade that I wanted to be a teacher. And so, you know, that's something that I had to think about moving forward. But not everybody knows that at an early age.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you have to make sure that you keep yourself open to having possibilities because, again, it can keep you from getting things. So, the job or, you know, acceptance from family and that type of thing. So it's just something to think about. You know, it's hard to think long term, but it is important to think long term.
Yeah, for like you saying like like all the piercings on your face, or also earlier about like the tattoo, like being a Christ tattoo. I feel like it don't matter. Like honestly, I feel like it's like it's like what job you're going to. Like if, for example, like if you are wanting to be a piercer, you know what I mean? They're not gonna care if you have a whole bunch of piercings on your faces. You know what I mean? And there are a lot of like body and like piercing shops that are like Christian shops that you know what I mean, that they don't care like what you know what I mean. I don't think it matters. Like I think as long as it's not inappropriate and you know what I mean, so worshiping anything other than God, I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't know, because I just remembered, not remembered, I don't know. I thought of like some people are like, not some people. I don't know anyone personally, but like something that came in my head is like, God made you how He wanted you, and so like I feel people would argue like, why would you like
Cover your face up with
like why would you
piercings.
put these markings on your body if God wanted you to have them? Wouldn't He make you with those?
Yeah.
But it's like
You can argue technology at the time, you know,
Yeah.
if that is the case. You can argue any of that, but I think, you know, and culturally, tattoos and piercings are accepted a lot more now than they were even 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think, again, you have to think about your future and what you're going to do.
Yep. Okay. Anyway, that's just something I thought of because it's like some people are like, well,
Yeah.
and like the same thing with like your attraction to people because it's like a lot of people argue that like well, if God thought like being like gay or like having the same attraction to the same like gender is a sin, then why would He like make people that way or but like let that happen? Does that make sense? But it's like we have our own choices, and it's like
You have free will, but you
Yeah.
also have the devil coming after you as well.
yeah.
And that's with everything.
And so
Yeah.
like it just like kind of made me think that like for people who would say that like he made you this way, so like why would you like go and like ruin your body and like get tattoos? It's like, but he gave us our free will and our choice. And like it doesn't mean that like just because I have this, I'm this terrible person. It's all, I feel like it's all about intentions. Your intent on what it is and what you do with it.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? I say that a lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I feel like that's all I have to say.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything to add?
Nope.
No. Okay.
Today we talked about tattoos and piercings and what to wear and what not to wear.
Let us know if you have any questions or any prayer requests that you would like us to mention next week.
Thanks for watching.
And catch your next episode where we'll have another special guest and talk more about our religion. See
See you next week on the Amen Hour.